Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Deac2Deac. Season 2 was tremendous, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in and showing their wonderful support. I had a great opportunity to share conversations with trailblazers and historical figures and how what they did at Wake Forest and beyond impacted the world. Take a listen to some of the highlights from Season 2. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, go Deacs. And with the climate of America, the climate of North Carolina, how did the opportunity to attend Wake Forest and to be the catalyst for what became such a major change, how did that come into the picture for you as an option, specifically Wake Forest and the opportunity to make that change?
Um, well, Kevin, I had signed with Michigan State and actually had signed with Tennessee A&I, Tennessee State too. I was going to one of those were going to be one of those schools. It was probably going to be Michigan State because it was obvious that they were going to win a national championship in those following 4 years because Duffy Doherty had gone all over the country. He had gone as far as Hawaii and Texas with my team, Baltimore Colt teammate, Bubba Smith, and business partner years later. Clinton Jones, top running back, high school running back in the nation, George Webster, and out of South Carolina. They had like 5 All-Americans on the team at one time, maybe. And if you counted the second team All-Americans, I think they had 7.
Wow.
So I was going there, and I had signed and was certainly going there. And then these 3 crazy white men at a little school in Winston-Salem called Wake Forest University. It was primarily known for golf and basketball. Lost their minds and went crazy and decided that they were going to become the first school, major university in the South. Maryland had integrated north of the Mason-Dixon line before in the ACC with Darrell Hill, who transferred from the Naval Academy for 1 year. But in Dixie, there was no one that looked like you or I playing at any major university. And there were no white kids playing at Grambling or Jackson or any place like that. These 3 crazy white men, Dr. Harold Tribble, president of Wake Forest University, Coach Bill Tate, the new head coach of the football team at Wake Forest College at that time, and a brand new young man, athletic director, Dr. Gene Hooks. They lost their mind and decided that they were going to be the ones that were going to integrate sports in the South. I didn't know anything about it or anything like that, but I got another call to come to Coach Gideon Johnson's office one day and come over here, young lad, sit down. I said, yes, sir. May I have your mind where you're going? I said, yes, sir. I said, where are you going? I said, I've already signed with Michigan State. I said, but I signed a letter of intent with Tennessee State also. So he held up a picture from the newspaper. He says, do you know who this white man is? I said, no, sir. I said, this is Coach Bill Tate. He's a new coach up there at Wake Forest. Says he and the president are getting ready to integrate major team sports at universities, at colleges in the South. So I'm thinking, well, what the heck does that have to do with me? I'm going to Michigan State. I said, oh, okay. So he said, "This is where we are going, baby."
So Josh, I
Oh,
was looking back at your career. You had a chance to leave Wake early and go to the NBA. What made
yeah.
you decide to come back and finish the job, to finish it off and not go to the NBA then?
Okay, so it's two-part answer to that. The first one is Helen Howard, my grandma.
Uh-huh.
At the time, she wasn't playing. She wanted me to graduate. Now we had other family members that
Oh, well,
graduated.
that's
Some of
the
them
answer
stayed.
right there. That's the answer. That's the court dismissed. Just get that's it.
Yeah, but I was kind of rebellious at times, and I knew I could have been in the lottery my junior year. We had a
Hmm.
practice, and I'm gonna tell you the two names. You know both of them. Antoine Scott
Yep.
and RD Montgomery was messing around one day in practice, as far
Uh-oh.
as like we were scrimmaging, and I was running the baseline. I never forget this. Running the baseline trying to do something, and RD ran into Antoine, and they both fell on my leg and gave me the worst high ankle sprain. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but we had to play in the NCAA tournament, but we had to go to the West Coast,
Mhm.
and I couldn't play because of my ankle. And I think Craig Dawson had a killer game against, I think, Pacific or somebody where he had 42, but then he
Yeah.
dislocated his shoulder.
Yep.
So that right there like made me realize, and if I'd have rethought it, I might have still went because it was an injury. But they
Hmm.
was saying I was an older player, and back then guys was leaving earlier than that. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna come on back and see what happened my senior year. So of course grandma was number one, but that ankle injury really like tore up the last part of my year because I was on a roll as far as scoring and playing defense to the point where I knew I was gonna go, in the top 10. But God does things for a reason. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So yeah.
So I want to talk about your involvement at Wake and what was it that got you back involved with supporting Wake athletics and particularly the football program through the Deacon Club? How did that process start?
I mean, I just think just because I really, I think back in I left Wake in 2000. I think the first time I was able to come back and just catch a game was I think it was after the Super Bowl, like
It
2008,
was it was a
2009, maybe.
basketball game.
Yeah, basketball game. I
Yeah.
think so. It was like wow, and sometimes you just don't realize how quick the time passes. And I was like, wow, last time I was here, was 8.5, 9 years ago. And just seeing how Wake was different from when I left to where it is now, and I just think it's important for guys to come back because Wake really as a for collegiate, I mean that's where it all started for me. You know what I mean? Not just my hometown, but Wake kind of helped elevate. Wake was a part of the process that got me to the NFL. If I didn't have everything I've learned and the people I've met and all the tools and resources I had at Wake Forest, I never would have made it to the NFL. And so I just felt I just owed it to Wake Forest and something I always wanted to do. And now that I have the freedom, to do that, I mean, I think the more, I mean, as a young player, when you see older guys come back, it means something, right? It meant something in college, and it also meant even when I was with the Giants, Vikings, and Rams, you see like some of the old guys come by and check your practice out or hang around the facility. That means something, right? And that's how the growth and foundation gets started of a program. Guys have to come back. People have to come back and support. What really helped them. And so I felt it was important. I love being around the program. I think what over the past coaches have been doing, what's Close been doing now, I think is great. All the big time donors from Miss Shaw, Ben Sutton, Bob McCray, what they've done to help get our facilities tops and in the country. And now we're competing at a high level with anybody in the country. I think it just speaks one of them, not just football, but across the board. I mean, pretty much every sport. Golf, field hockey, soccer, baseball. We're doing great. So I just think now we really just really in building on that foundation that really have been set, from years ago.
Well, now you've also made your support for Wake Forest as well, in addition to the Mitch Shaws and Bob McQuarries and those guys that you've also have made your contributions as well, but you also have come back in your presence and serving in different capacities. What made you decide to start doing that and not just, saying, I'll just cut a check and won't get involved? What made you
Yeah.
decide
Well,
to do that?
I'm more of a hands-on type of person. I mean, I really want to be hands-on involved, and I think that speaks to greater lengths. I mean, I mean, a lot of people, not able to really make that commitment. A lot of people have 1,000 other things they got going on in life, and but I just felt it's important for me. I mean, that's how I was raised. That's how I was built. That's what motivates me. It motivates me when I'm hands-on. I'm not the type to just want to show up for things and get the praise and the claps. I really want to be hands-on. I want to show people that I was there. I'm in the mud with you. I mean, we're gonna get through this together, and it speaks volumes because that's what's gonna take the move forward. So anybody I can inspire to do that, I mean, that's how growth starts. And if I can, help some athletes, current or former athlete, do that and keep their trend going. I mean, I'm all for it. But for me, I'm a hands-on person.
I had a wonderful conversation with Coach Diane Daly here on the podcast. It was great. And I asked her this question, and I'm going to ask you, do you consider yourself a trailblazer when you look back at, again, where the state of things were for women's athletics, and you look at the work that you've done after your athletic career? How how would you consider yourself a trailblazer?
That's a great question. In the past, I always considered, I would go to luncheons honoring the pioneers in women's sports, and it puts you in an age group maybe that you don't feel as comfortable with, but I certainly think that I've been fortunate to have been placed in positions where I can provide leadership for sports and for women's sports. And so if, I hope that, my goal is to always make the most of the opportunities I've been given. So I have been given a platform to help promote women's sports and to talk about the importance of equity across the board in sports. And that the purpose of college sports really is to develop human potential in young men and young women in the same way through sports. And so to be able to use the platform to be a leader that helps promote that, that's what I'm trying to make the most of those opportunities.
Now, you talk about integration and during that time and getting that call from Coach Mills. Did you expect to get that call? Did you see it coming at that point in your coaching career? Because you talked about integration. We're talking about the early 70s, where there were still some issues with the integration going on. So what was it like to get that call?
Well, I was wanting to go back to my high school in Durham to be the head football coach. But John Lucas, you would know John Lucas, the great basketball player. His daddy was my principal.
Okay.
And he told me he was gonna hire me. He called me down, boom. I had the job and everything before I went to Wake Forest. And he says, but now, if you don't win at least 10 games, I'm gonna fire you. I'm saying, wait a minute. Is this you just won 3 games last year and you won 2 games the year before? Now you're gonna hire me and I got to win 10 games that you're gonna fire me? I really thought I could win 12. I really did. That's how confident I was in my ability. I thought I could win them all.
Yeah.
But I didn't want him to tell me that. I didn't think he had the right to say that to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decided, when Coach Mills asked me, gave me an opportunity to go to Wake Forest and be the first Black coach in Atlanta. Really, the first Black coach coaching a position.
Mm-hmm.
See, there may have been some other coaches east of the Mississippi, but they were Black guys who recruited.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't coach a position. I used to go to the coaching convention. The coaching convention moves all of Dallas and LA and Miami, different places. It moves every year to Tennessee. I go to coaching convention and guys look and say, hey man, that guy coaches a position. That was deep, wasn't it? See, they were just recruiting. I coached the position and recruited. And so which made me a little bit different from most guys like me during that period.
What was it like to carry that weight? Because you're talking about a major conference, you're talking about a sport that just culturally is a part of, is just ingrained in the fabric. How did you carry that weight of being the first?
Yeah, I acted like I belonged there.
Mm.
You know, I think if you walk around acting like I'm the first, so then I got to be, no, I belong here. When coach sent me down to Alabama, sent me down to Mississippi, the scout, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State with all those cowbells, and I went all over the Deep South as a pioneer. I was the first guy to come in to those stadiums of color, and people would look at me and just say, "What in the hell is he doing up in here?" And the crazy part about it was, you know, the cooking staff and all the waiters in the stadium, and man, they saw and look, they said, "Whoa, here's a black man in here doing it." And so, I mean, I act like I'm supposed to be there. You know, I ain't walk looking up. I'll keep my head straight ahead, doing my job, going got my station set up, went down on the field, make sure I timed the snappers, I timed the height of that punt and how long the hang time, get all that information, go up there, get my stuff ready, and I'm gonna scout this game. Period.
So what was it about Wake though that, you know, attracted you to say, you know what, this is a place where I could work? Because I'm pretty sure you could have had other opportunities at other schools. And what was it about Wake Forest though?
Oh, I love Wake Forest, and I love the what the university stands for, the Pro Humanitate. I love the faculty interaction with the students and how those relationships build over 4 years. Love the learning process and developmental process that the students go through in the 4 years that they're here. Um, you know, I just felt like golf was a way to help them grow as a person, as a young lady. Versus having them all be professional golfers. I mean, that's fine if they want to do that, but what a really special place. I just am, everything is just perfect, I think, here, because particularly for the faculty really care about the students. And there have been times when we would get ready to go on a trip and a student would call me up on the team and say, you know, we have this test on when I get back and I don't even understand the material, much less knowing how to study for it. And I said, well, why don't you meet with your faculty member, because we're driving the next day, and see if you can meet before we leave, and we'll wait until you get done, but you meet with them. And they did, and it ended up that faculty member tutored that person, and you know, they ended up doing very well in the class. And I think that's just typical of the experience that the students have at Wake Forest. And I just am a firm believer in all of that. And I felt like I was so fortunate to have got to know a lot of the faculty and interact with them and then see our students just really develop into confident and talented young women when they graduate.
Well, Coach, you took over the position with no coaching experience, as you and I were talking about a little bit before. So who were some of your mentors some of your coaching mentors that helped you to grow and develop as a coach?
Well, Dot Gunnels over at UNC Chapel Hill was wonderful to me. She, she kind of took me aside and she would say, "This is what you need to do in the tournaments," and and she would help me a lot. I mean, I just can't tell you how much she helped me. And then the coach at Texas was also another good one. And then Betty Lou Evans at Kentucky. These were the ladies that started these golf programs back in the 70s, and they had been there for a long time. And I was actually the first person from the LPGA to be at a coaching at a Division I school. And so that was, really different for me and different for the students. And I think what happened was that, these ladies that started these programs, they were wonderful. But as they began to phase out, the schools started hiring more teachers, more people with coaching experience. And I think because of that, and the quality of play got better really quickly. You know, when I first started coaching, we couldn't give advice on the golf course. And
Oh,
I mean, we were the only sport in the NCAA that could not give advice when in competition. And
wow.
so that to me didn't make any sense at all. And so once we were able to get that rule changed, um, and we could give advice, then these students got a lot better. That you could talk to them while they're playing, you could keep them calm, you could help them with shot selection and club selection, and all those things that you want to do when you coach. And we were not allowed to do that earlier, so that was a big deal.
Coach, I've heard you mention a few times, just being challenged to do things, and then the rule change. Would you consider yourself a fighter?
I probably would. Yes, I'm a
Yeah.
quiet fighter. I'll play within the system, but if I see something that needs to be changed, I'll try to see what I can do to get it changed. But within the system. I mean, I'm not one of these people who will go out and protest, I guess. But I would say what needs to be done. And one of the questions that I always try to ask myself in any situation, when I'm talking with students or
Mhm.
a problem, is how can I make this better? And if and sometimes I can't, but other times I try to figure out solutions to a problem and work on it.
Now, Coach, when you look at your career and the young women that you have just developed into great players, I was looking at the list and I'm looking at Sierra Sims, Kaya Woods, Natalie Shear, and this is just a few. This is
Mhm.
just a few. What is your secret to developing such great talent over a long sustainable time period?
Well, I don't know if it's a secret or not. But I had standards and high expectations for the students, and told them that from the beginning. And if they came to play, I would do everything I could to give them all the resources I could to help them become better. And for a long time, I couldn't get the top players because they didn't know we didn't have a winning record. But as time goes on, we were able to develop some good players and good people. And I think, the secret is just, helping them get better and helping them, one of the things I like to do is catch them doing things right and
Mhm.
really using them for that. And instead of always harping on the things they're doing wrong, and so instead of, and trying to be an even tempered type person instead of getting mad, and having a temper tantrum, that kind of thing. I don't really believe that is very effective, especially with girls or women. But I don't think there's any big secret. It's just one of these things. I love working with the students to help them get better, and I want them to get better all the way around, not just as golfers, but as people. And I got to know them and liked them and wanted to help them, and it just sort of grew that way.
So if I'm a parent and I'm looking at Wake Forest and my son or daughter is considering going there in athletics, it's safe to say that I could feel really good that Wake Forest is helping prepare parallel tracks in terms of not just their
Thank you.
athletic success,
Yes,
but
parallel path.
also their success in life afterwards, and not long term, not wait, but immediately. So talk about what has been some of the successes that you've seen in terms of student athletes on those parallel tracks of success on and off the field.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many of them. And I mean, that's the best part about my job is that I develop relationships with these student athletes. And then, they may believe, and we stopped calling it Plan B because I think Plan B made it sound like it was inferior. It wasn't as
Yeah.
good. But we've been calling it a parallel path. And I'm so happy that you said that, Kevin, because it really is. You could be planning out to go pro, but at the same time, I really want to make sure that they're preparing themselves and have all the tools again that they need so they can easily jump over to the other path if they need that. We've had several individuals. I mean, how good our men's soccer program is, who intend to go pro and then may get hit with an injury and then have to jump over on that parallel path. And so there's so many great success stories and individuals out there that I don't want to just point point out one in particular, because I think that across all of our sports, our student athletes do a really phenomenal job of just making sure that they are prepared and that they're doing what it takes to make sure that they're ready for life beyond Wake Forest. And sometimes that means going on to more schooling, but other times that means it's going straight into the workforce. So I'll just say one of my interns for this year is Amelia Migliaccio, which I'm sure everybody knows that name. She's one of the top golfers, our female golfers in the nation. And she graduated this past year, but she's decided to come back. And I think the best part about Amelia's story is that she had the ability to go on and go pro. But she, after being our SAC president, really saw the impact that this department has on student athletes. And I remember her coming to me and saying, like, this is a space that she really wants to work in, because she recognizes that we're not just about them as scholars, and we're not just about them as athletes, that we're really about them as people and making sure that they're set up for success. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's like music to my ears, because I know I've done a good job, not because she's not wanting to go pro, because she definitely has the ability to, but just the fact that it sank in with her. I even think about Alante Bateman, who was my intern a few years ago. But Alante was medically DQ'd. He was a football student athlete. And until he was medically DQ'd, he had never set foot in my office. But then once he kind of drank the student athlete development juice, I would come into my office, and every day, if I did not see him every day, I would get worried, because he got into the habit of being in my office every day and wanting to work on himself and his resume, and really figuring out his next steps for life. And now he's at the University of Tennessee working in student athlete development and getting his master's. And so again, those are the types of things that make me so proud, because they do recognize that there is a space that is here for them as people, and really wanting them to excel off the field and out of the classroom. And I support both of the academic and athletic endeavors. Clearly, that's why I'm here. But I think it's really important, as my own story kind of gleaned, that when my sport was taken away, then what? You really have to go back to your why and what are you wanting out of life. So that's what I'm hoping that I'm providing for these student athletes.
How does that make you feel as a former player when you look at the success that the program has had in growing, and you can look back and see that even Coach Clausen and fans will point to that ACC championship team as that pivotal turning point that kind of set everything up for some of the success? Now, how does that make you feel when you see the program where it is now?
Feel great, Kevin. I feel fantastic, and because it's something that we all wanted to do. Because everybody who went to Wake was either an underdog, you're under recruited, overlooked, whatever it was. Anybody that chose Wake, it was okay. I'm coming here to prove a point, right? And having the success that Wake has had now, it's been fantastic, man. Now, we don't ever want like 6-7 wins to be the standard there. I think that we showed that we need to be fighting for a title every single year. Like, we don't care about just being eligible. No, we don't care about that. We care about a ring, right? Like, we're trying to go down in history. So anytime you touch that field and you got that mark on the side of your helmet, a WF, like, you should feel that you should win every single game. And that we're never happy to be in a game. I think that was the mindset of Wake when we first got there, that we were happy to keep the game close, right? And I'm so happy that is not the mindset anymore. We don't want close games. If anything, we're pissed off if the game is close, right? That's how it should be. Like, damn, this game is close. What's up? you
Yeah.
know. So, but man, I'm glad with where the program is going. You know, I think it's on a fantastic track. And as I said before, man, I think Wake is sitting on a gold mine. You know, it is a
Yeah.
gold mine. You can literally have whatever you want in the world is in the palm of your hand at Wake. It's at the palm of your hand.
So, so as a Wake Forest Hall of Famer, what was your favorite Deacon moment on and off the track? What was that moment on the track and that favorite moment off the track?
Well, you just saying that is mind blowing to me. First of all, say I'm a Hall of Famer, but my favorite moment, I think this was my junior year or something, and I'm not patting myself on the back. It was a group, a team effort. It really was. We had a solid core of even football guys that had come out and run with us to help us out on our short and our jumps, short sprints and our jumps. But we had of a team of scoring people, maybe we had like 12 people. And I know this sounds a little like technical, but say we had a very small, Wake Forest is a small school, but a very small amount of runners. But we were able to get, like, it sounds bad, but third place. And that's behind Clemson, which is a big, well, their program is, but there's big school, and Florida State. And during that meet, I remember, I don't know, maybe I had scored like 50 or maybe 50% or 60% of the points or something. That's not why I'm saying this though. The reason why I'm saying this is I had the two coaches, or one of the coaches at Florida State and one at Clemson. And I remember my uncle was in the stands. And so, yeah, I kind of know we're filming this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And the Florida coach came over. He's like, I just can't believe you guys even did it. We almost beat them. We beat them in some races. And one of the Clemson coaches asked if I was on, like, taking like performance enhancing. So I was, and my uncle got so mad. He got so mad. But that was like it was a pat on the back to the team and to me to say, like, how could you even, small school like that, come and give us competition or, push us around in some events. That was really cool. So I was on the track, off the track, I think just getting my, degree, I could say this in full confidence that a lot of the friends that student athletes too, a lot of student athletes that I know that graduated, or even if they didn't finish and came back and then finished, all of them are decently successful doing something in whatever they do. I mean, I think it's not so much even about what they majored in. It's just the fact that I think they know how to work, they're honest. And I think they have a certain amount of just raw capability to go into any sector, learn something, make it their own, and stand out. I mean, one of my best friends is now, like, we'll say mid-level, doing pretty well at Facebook. I have friends that
You're getting recruited. I want to ask, what was it about Wake Forest that made you decide, hey, this is where I want to be?
Yeah, so pretty cool story about Wake Forest for me. I was actually going to a clinic at Duke, and my family was like, well, let's visit Wake Forest, it's not too far. And I'm like, well, what is Wake Forest? Like, I never heard of Wake Forest. And so we came to Wake and kind of gave ourselves a little tour. And I was only a freshman at the time, so we actually walked past Manchester and saw that this was the coach's office. And pre-COVID, obviously, anyone had access. So we walked up to the coach's office and we're like, is Coach Averill here? And my parents were like, we're going to make you talk to Coach Averill. And I'm like praying that she's not there because I'm a nervous wreck. And so the lady at the front desk was like, oh yeah, she actually just left for a meeting. And then Coach Avril came walking in behind, and she's like, oh, I was like, oh my goodness. So I introduced myself to her, and she's like, I have to hop in a meeting really quick, but don't leave, like, don't leave. And I was like, okay, okay. So we stuck around, and she came to talk to us, and we ended up talking to her for about 2 hours, and it was just like, it was just awesome. And that moment that Jen had talked to my family and I for 2 hours unannounced. She probably didn't even know who I was before that visit. Just really stuck with me throughout the rest of my college visits. There's not many people like her out there who will sit and talk to you for that long when they don't even know who you are. So that moment really stuck with me, and my heart just kept coming back to Wake Forest. When I'd visit other schools, I'd be like, no, this school's really nice, but I always kept coming back to Wake. So